Today is a beautiful day, isn't it? Focus on today. I watched a sermon. I thought it was great and amazing. And it was about prayer. And that's the next video. But this one, something in prayer that in realizing that is very important, that God clearly spoke to me about, is focusing on today. I catch myself looking too far into the future. All I do is stress myself out. All I do is worry. All I do is lose sight of what today has to offer. Today is the only day that if God woke you up, you may be guaranteed because He gave you the day for a reason. So in that day, focus on what God has for you that day. I just say for myself, I get so caught up into what I have planned throughout the week, what I have planned throughout the month, what I have planned throughout the year. And I miss what today has to offer. I can get so caught up in, God, I need you on this day. Or like in the future, I need you that day in the future. And I bet God is like, okay, what about today? What about today to help you get there? Because that day is going to take care of itself. But what about today? Because there's something I have for you today. There's something I want you to do today that if you so focus on the future, you're going to miss out on it. You can focus so much on the next day, the next week, the next month, that today God had something for you to prepare you that you needed for the next day, for that week, for that month. But because you focus on that so much, you lose sight of it and you missed it. Just like when He fed Israel, He gave them food for that day. He said, if you try to save any for the next day, I will spoil it. So that means we must focus on what God is giving us today. Because if we try to take it to the next day, it's going to spoil it. It's not going to carry over. It's not going to carry over to the next week, and it's not going to carry over to the next month. It's so important to focus on the day that God has given us today. Today is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Because right now, this is the only day we are promised. And if we lose sight on that, we miss a lot of what God has for us. When you pray and seek God, seek Him for what He wants for you to do that day. Not for the next day, not for the next week, not for any stresses, any worries about whatever is coming up. You don't know what that day can help prepare you for. He can do so much in a day that takes care of your worry, that takes care of the future. God wants to use you. God wants to use this day as something that always uplifts His kingdom, helps you get to where you want to be, helps you get closer to Him, helps you share, get closer to anybody who He wants you to get closer to. But I just know that focusing on one day at a time is the best way to help see the fullness of what today has to offer. So now I start my day with opening my heart and my mind and my hands of whatever God wants to give me today, whatever He has for me today. I am ready and willing to endure it, to receive it, to grow in it, to walk through it, walk in it. But I know that today He woke me up for a reason. So I'm thankful. And I must understand that in this day, God still has a purpose for me. So God, what is your purpose for me on this day? And that's the biggest importance. Focus on today. Focus on the day He gave me. Focus on that. Because in this day, that is where we grow. And today, this is where we find the things that we're seeking. This is where God reveals more and more of His plan. Where He reveals more and more of ourselves. So today should be our main focus. Not any other day but today. Not the past, not the future, but today.